Guardian, we've picked up a high-gain transmission. Origin point is somewhere along the coast, near the Cosmodrome.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, they, thems everywhere. This is the Cosmodrome Radio Show, episode 64. We are back again, once again, talking about Destiny 2 and all the great things about it. Don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts no longer exists. I keep forgetting about that. They even said they're shutting down their podcast manager app soon, which is hilarious. Apparently, YouTube just has a whole integrated thing now for podcasts that I heard about. So that's kind of cool. But iHeartRadio, all those great places, make sure that you rate and review the show. That way people can find it easier on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like I keep trying to remind folks, make sure you scroll down on Apple Podcasts. That's the only way you can see the review tab. Don't forget you can follow us on
Apple,
Twitter.
make it easier to rate, assholes. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I mean, like, I don't care. I think it's funny, though. But don't forget, folks, that you can follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to, like, glorify Elon, our God and Savior. But you know, we're going to go ahead and dive into things. My name is Jay Paracalls, and we do this show every week on my channel, and we're here having a good time. To my right, this way. The spicy man over yonder, the man who put in the work and got his God Slayer already put in the work. Cajun, how you feeling? What's good, homie?
Oh, dude, I'm feeling good. Hey, man, you can't be the one getting their left and right confused, okay? I'm the ex-military guy, okay? I'm the one that's doing that, all right? But anyways, doing good. This week, this week was a little bit more, getting prep done, trying to work a little bit more on my mental health, and needs to say, boundaries are there for a reason. But outside of that, freaking yes, got Pantheon done. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to my boy Raka, who I guess we'll announce now. He'll be on the show next week. We'll be doing a recap of all things TFS. So be ready for that one. We'll rate some things and set expectations. But outside of that, yes, got Pantheon done. By the way, A-Tracks, holy shit, getting that thing on plat is a bitch.
Not really. It wasn't bad at all.
Get them tormentors killed. That's all I'm going to say.
If you don't get your tormentor killed, what are you doing?
Yeah. But no, freaking that was a really good Pantheon set some expectations, and Bungie cooked with this. Honestly, this was like one of the best rating experiences. And for all the haters out there that were saying, "Oh, this is just recycled content," you know what? This was content, yes, that's already in the game, but they brought it back with a vengeance, and they challenged us. And I am freaking here for what they did, and I can't wait for the Final Shapes raid. By the way, speaking of that, the emblems that Bungie showcased for that, for everybody going for contest day one, y'all are gonna have a stellar emblem to shoot for, and of course some bragging rights. But anyways, I'm not the only one here, and I need to pass on the torch. We got the man, the myth, the legend. We got Razeki here in the studio with us. How you doing, brother?
Hello, I'm doing great. Great to be here. I am very excited to talk about this week's news. It's actually there's so much gameplay stuff, and I'm the gameplay guy. I've been going crazy.
Oh, nice. That's what we had to have you here, man. But like one thing that we've been trying to do every episode is make sure that people tell their ghost story. People tell like what made you get into this crazy ass universe that we know and love.
All right, so I am a bit of a not OG. I didn't play Destiny 1. I didn't have a PlayStation growing up or when I was in high school. But I heard great things about Destiny. So when it came to PC, I was like, well, it's time to get into the game. So I played Vanilla D2. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I knew it was a shooter, and that's pretty much all I knew. So I didn't really know about the MMO stuff. So I pretty much played alone for a while. Found some friends at college who played it. And then I dropped off for a while. And I took a big break, and then occasionally I would come back. So I came back for Forsaken. and a couple of other expansions, but I didn't really dive super deep into the game until Witch Queen came out, because a bunch of my friends from back home when I graduated college started getting into the game a lot more heavily. So it brought me back, and then I just kind of nosedived into it, and it's been a lot of hours in the past couple years. We'll just
Hell
say
yeah.
that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So we want to get the story beats out of the way, especially because like there's a lot of like news and gameplay to talk about, but we still want to make sure we shine a light on it. And after the new mission, they kind of like Bungie kind of threw like a monkey wrench at the whole "hey, let's throw Crow through the portal" thing, and like they made us go back to the Black Garden and fight a new Black Heart, which was just nutty. And like that's like gameplay beats. I'm not gonna like have the spoiler thing for, but spoiler warning for anybody who is not wanting to like know about stuff, cutscenes, whatever. Like go play the mission and then watch the cutscene. You getting spoiled in 3, 2, 1. Man, I'm kind of glad that Bungie didn't kill the emo boy, because it was so satisfying watching. I could feel the sodium in every hunter's veins as Cade put the gun down. It was very satisfying. Like you could feel the salt like pouring into their veins.
So I'll be honest with you. I didn't have any salt. Like since the introduction of Crow and knowing what we know, it's been a very interesting story beat for him because for us as the viewer,
Mhm.
we knew of his past. We saw everything that he did, but yet here he was as a new being. That's the thing about being a guardian, is that when you're brought back into the light, brought back into this world, you're essentially starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
In Crow's scenario, kind of resonates for a lot of like other guardians.
Yeah.
For the vast majority, we don't know what they did in their previous life. We don't know what good deeds or atrocities they committed. All we know is that the traveler chose them, their ghost chose them. And yet here they are defending humanity. And that's what Crow has been doing ever since. But at the same time, ever since he got his memories back, still having to rectify that, and to see that cutscene in which him and Cade going toe to toe, Cade not knowing what Crow really was. All he saw was what looked like Aldrin,
Mm-hmm.
until that one moment where Glint comes out.
Glint,
That
bro.
That's when even Cade, and for a lot of people out there, wanting Crow to get shot. Here's the thing. Cade's had some bad history himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Cade 6, this was literally, I've been where this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he eased up all that trigger.
And what's funny is the minute he saw Glint, he was just like, all right, I'll put the gun down.
I'm good.
Like, all right, cool. You one of us now? Bet.
And to be fair, we already saw Crow get murked by Amanda a year ago, so.
Oh my God.
You're not wrong. But the one thing that I appreciate, and I had an idea, and like, because someone put it on Twitter, they said, Bungie, please make the cracked Ace of Spades come out as an ornament. And the next word they said was, I'll pay anything. So Bungie, I got a pitch for you. Y'all know for a damn fact that all these Cade Lucky Aces and Cade's Dirty Aces clans that y'all have in the game, there's so many Cade Dick Riders out in the world. You got this knucklehead right here whipping it out. What if you make it an ornament, but then you make it $100? Then you can get back in Sony's good graces, because you'll make hand over fist, and it will be glorious. That's how he fixed everything. And then they make their money back from hiring back Nathan Fillion. So everything's okay. But yeah, that was my one joke. I told Cajun before the show, I have a joke for you.
To everyone listening to the podcast tonight, I give you free permission. If you see freaking Panda Jay Paracausal out in the freaking tower, feel free to go punch him. All right, he deserves that one.
I'm just saying, and someone even made a joke over on or like a statement on Twitter. They were like, "Hey yo, they should make Ace of Spades craftable in final shape." And for two
You
reasons,
know what? You
and I
know
said
what?
no, please no.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
The reason why I say no
It's good
is
enough.
I made a video, like a TikTok video, I think like a year ago, where I said Bungie will never nerf Ace of Spades because they know Cade fans will go rabid. So you all so even the idea of Ace of Spades being craftable sounds like like the devil incarnate, because literally all you'll see is every Cade dick rider going around being like, ah, and it's just a mess. Like, I
You
don't
know
need
what?
it in my
You know
life.
what? I'm gonna say this very respectfully. The chances of Ace of Spade being, craftable is about the same chance as Helm of Saint 14 actually becoming meta.
So it's a pretty good chance. Is what
I'm
you're
sorry,
saying.
you wanted to freaking throw some salt, and I can throw it right back at you, brother.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. So Bungie,
But one thing though, I want to touch on just real quick.
all right,
That mission felt so freaking good.
most definitely.
Going back there, and if anyone caught the hint, we're gonna see the Vex real soon.
Oh yeah, no. So that's why we
Because
get
that
unstoppable
was a
wyverns, baby.
oh god damn it.
So Razeki,
Do not give Bungie them ideas, but
I gotta pitch you on
I'm
this.
I'm
So
I'm,
like,
I'm freaking thirsting for that first episode, and I can't wait.
So like Bife has this video where he talks about how he wants the Vex to be the most prominent villain in the universe after Final Shape, right? So I'm like, cool, bet.
I'm down for it.
Here's how we do it. We make the Vex the most dangerous threat in the universe. They're always learning, they're always adapting. What if they were the only race in the game that had all three champion types? I give you the unstoppable wyvern.
I give you the unstoppable overload.
Oh. Okay.
Teleporting needs two different guns to kill it.
No. Okay. With that, let's start talking about the ability changes, the tuning that's coming up, as well as the exotic armor tuning. Needless to say, Bungie had to put out a tweet, said, hey, if we drop this as is, it's going to be over 9,000, as in 9,000 words. This was pretty freaking beefy. So they split it up between two. So the first one we're going to be covering is the abilities tuning preview. And needless to say, we can see why.
And baby.
This was thicker than a Snickers. That's all I'm saying.
And more like thicker than an ice cube, because Bungie started off with a damn stasis update likes we never seen before.
I'm so excited for stasis.
Oh my
It's
God.
needed this for so long. I called the frost armor changes months ago, and I was right. I'm so excited.
So I like this. So first and foremost, let's start with frost armor. Frost armor, damage resistant that increases with stacks, replaces the stasis shard overshield, which thank you. Per stack. 4.5 in PvE.
Fun though.
Yeah, 4.5 in PvE. Lasts up to 9 seconds, 13 seconds with Whisper of Rhyme fragment. Up to 5 stacks. Normal, 8 stacked with Whisper of Rhyme. Remains active in super, but with less effectiveness. Now, doing quick math, it was 22.5% damage resistance at 5 stacks. I want to say it was like 30 plus at 8 stacks, which puts it just below. At 8 stacks, just below Wolven Mail.
That's
So right
baller.
now, it's just a little bit higher than what was the other damage resist? Arc. Arc's the lowest right now at 25% with the 1 fragment. So not bad. And I think we all agree that was one of the best freaking changes that Bungie could have put in. And everything else that they did, they tuned everything to where the stasis shards were going to be plentiful. You were going to have ways to generate them. and they were
I'm
going to
worried
have
about the cooldown, though. The idea of a cooldown between station shards, the way they're doing it, I'm a little bit concerned. I gotta admit, I feel like that's gonna be a problem, especially with guns like Wicked Implement. I'm worried that might become a problem because, because especially or not even that. Think of Sally. Think of Salvation's Grip, where like you can constantly explode crystals, so you're not like, how many shards are you going to get from things like Sally, or even at all? Like, I'm worried about that specifically.
Yeah, I
So,
think
and it's a good thing you kind of brought that up because they did some of the other fragments. So let's talk on Touch of Winter because I was looking at this.
Well, Razeki, what were
Uh,
you going to say real quick?
okay, yeah, so my bad. I'm sorry if I cut
I
you off.
don't even remember. You're
Oh.
good.
Well, what were you going to touch on?
Touch of Winter. So this one gives +1 to stasis crystals, so that means it's going to generate an extra one. Cold Snap, Seekers now duplicate on target freeze. 2 second and third Seekers now create a medium and large crystal, respectively. So now you're going to have small crystals, medium crystals, and large ones. I believe large ones will give you a full stack right off the rip, whereas a medium will give you anywhere from 2 to 3. That is ingenious. So even with the cooldown, that's effectively a great way of getting frost armor stacks. And they even made changes to 2 of the exotic armors, which we'll touch on later, that are going to have in quick ways of getting full stacks of frost armor. Honestly, everything that we're also going to touch on for stasis, this has been like one of the best overhauls. This is literally stasis 3.0 at this point.
Oh yeah. I will
I think
say the one thing that I'm really excited about is Diamond Lances. Diamond Lances specifically, the way they are finally tweaking these things, it feels like Diamond Lances might actually be viable for content, which makes me so excited because when the Cadmus Ridge Lance cap first came out, I was like Diamond Lances, whatever. Like, but now, especially with how the prismatic profiles we got from the PC Gamer article that Bungie put out, hello, Dranger's Lash plus Diamond Ridge Lance Cap.
Yeah, Bungie is definitely trying to pull up the lesser used things for prismatic specifically, but because they're doing that, it also benefits the mono subclasses too. So like Diamond Lance is kind of not great on stasis, but because they're making it good because they want it to be kind of a focal point in the prismatic kit, especially on, I'm pretty sure it's in the starter kit for Prismatic Titan. So they want it to really feel good. And they're going to bring that back to obviously regular stasis. So it's going to definitely feel good on regular stasis as well, which is super nice.
That's pretty awesome. And like, I think, especially with the combinations that we're going to be able to do with things like, I can't fucking think, the exotic class items, the idea of potentially Hoarfrost mixed with, I can't fucking think. Kepri's Horn, especially with the buff 2 Horn that we'll talk about. Imagine just going Dranger's Lash into Solar Wave, in literally just the damage off of that just makes you a Diamond Lance. Like, genuinely just makes you a Diamond Lance for free. That's gonna be insane.
Quad King Faram's about to lose his freaking shit.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna be nutty. And like, I will say that like this actually makes builds like Hoarfrost Z for endgame content, because that was one thing that I really enjoyed. Right before the changes to where different words could affect champions, where they were like, hey, there was 2 different seasonal mods where it was like Stasis and Void do this to overloads and whatnot, and Stasis and Arc do this to anti-barriers and unstops. And that was a fun season because it gave credence to the idea that Stasis could be endgame potential. But now this gives a lot of ideas for me of like running around with Wicked Implement and Agriceptor again and trying these new ideas and actually having DR. And one thing that even Salta Grepo said that I really appreciated was like, this isn't just passive DR. This is
no, it's
like
active.
It's active DR where you're having to play into it to get it. It isn't just free DR from having armor on. It's you have to play into it to receive the DR. And I love the idea of having to work for your damage resistance.
Yeah, there's going to be a big skill check, right? Because if if you understand the stasis kit and how to really generate chards to get that frost armor, you could keep that up like indefinitely and just have a permanent 30% or whatever it is, 25, 30% DR just constantly. But you got to keep up that gameplay. You got to keep freezing things, shattering things, and really take advantage of your aspects to keep that armor up.
Speaking of shatter, okay, the fact that they doubled the PvE damage, they doubled it. That's gonna be some really good damage, and that's gonna really expand. So Bungie's reasoning was that they wanted it to compete with other kits, specifically solar. Let's be honest, solar incandescent, solar scorch, as well as solar ignition is by far one out of all the kits, the biggest hard hitting freaking wording within the solar subclass. Shatter is going to meet this. Now, it's going to be a wait and see how the numbers are going to line up. But if they do, this will, I think, between this, the changes, the damage resistance from the frost armor, this is going to make Stasis endgame viable, and I'm freaking here for it.
Yeah, Stasis has two major problems up until this point, and it was killing things and staying alive, right? It was, you could freeze an entire room, but if you can't kill the enemies, who cares about CC, right? The best form of CC is death. So increasing the killing power of Stasis makes it so much more viable, and in endgame, sustain obviously is super important. That's why solar is crazy, because you can kill everything and you're alive all the time. So improving both of those in Stasis really brings it up a tier where it wasn't before, and it could actually perform quite well in endgame.
And I believe they also made comments, and it's not here on our little cheat sheet. I believe they made comments to where they made the stasis crystals easier to break with primary weapons.
Yep.
That was another quality of life change that Bungie pulled off with this.
Right, and then they already have the things like hockey breach armaments and things like that or deconstruct, where you can break things faster with those. So those abilities are even more profitable now from this, because they have play into that. But then also you have things like they made diamond lances play into being able to break crystals now. So you have the potential to make more benefits for you. And imagine if you wait the cooldown timer while you have a diamond lance in hand, you break your own crystals and make another diamond lance off of that. So there's so much potential for this to flow. I will say, the one thing I don't like about this is what they did to Cryoclasm, where they took away the having to run to activate it and made it so now it just has a cooldown. Because truth be told, the running 2 seconds didn't bother me. The running 2 seconds didn't bother me. It felt balanced. And now they're like, hey, we're gonna make it so you have to 4 seconds for a cooldown. And I'm like, that doesn't feel good. And that kind of feels like you're limiting the ability of the fast moving, but also for slowing of targets. It feels a little weird. I am excited though that Bungie is willing to implement new fragments as well. Like they're like the whole thing with what was it? A Whisper of Chill, where it's like stasis weapons kills have a chance to create shards, and dealing or receiving non-projectile melee damage slows the victim and attacker. That right there. If you're a stasis person in PvP and you have frost armor and someone tries to punch you, oh boy, that's gonna be a fun one to play with, kids.
Oh, I already got the perfect scenario. You ready for this?
Sure.
Lanterns.
Ooh, stasis with lanterns and Crota. Oh shit. Oh shit, bro. Oh, that's big hype. That's big hype. But yeah, no. So like now for let's go. What was next? I'm actually like go from the article.
Do we want to jump on the major thing from that article, because I think we might need to.
So okay. So they're finally doing the thing that everyone's been knowing is coming. We know we knew it was gonna happen sooner or later. Well of Radiance is being nerfed. But is it? That's the crazy part. We thought Well was gonna get nerfed, but in reality, I think it's better. I genuinely think Well is in a better place than it was previously, because what they're doing is so now because the whole idea here is rather than it being twofold where it heals you and helps you do big damage, they're kind of leaning into less heal and more big damage, because what they're doing is they're making it so radiant for 8 seconds when players exit the well, so you can leave a well and still have radiant, but it's not well radiant, it's just radiant. So like golden guns, pyro gale, you won't be limited by that, which is actually really cool. Reduce player survivability while standing in the well, because they made it so healing per second is only 50 per second, matching restoration 2. And they increased the heal on cast to full health, and they made your damage resistance could be cut in half, and your damage resistance against bosses was cut in a fourth. So we're going from 40 to 10%. So and also they increased the amount of orbs you can go from 4 to 5, which but like I don't think well by any means is destroyed. I think every warlock main who's like, the chains are off, the chains are done, we can do Nova Bomb and Needle Storm and yada yada. Nope. Sorry, don't know what to tell you. Sorry, bud.
Yeah,
you better put that shit back on.
I've seen so many people on both sides are like, man, I don't have to use well anymore. And then there's some people like, why are you nerfing well? I need it. But I think this change really is less of a nerf and more of an adjustment. Because well was kind of a skeleton key for all endgame content, period. Like you can get through anything, no problem. I have this clip that I keep using in videos that's just 3 Phoenix Protocol Warlocks just chaining wells over and over and over and not taking any damage in GM Cosmodrome. And that kind of sucks. You don't want that in a game where you could just use one super and just beat everything. So, they've kind of transitioned it from this use in every circumstance to it is meant for dealing extra damage to bosses, and you kind of get a little bit of sustain while in it, but it's not keeping you alive permanently, which is a lot more healthy.
It's gonna rely. Now it puts a little bit more over reliance on the players themselves to keep themselves alive, which to me is a good thing. But I'm also going to say this, knowing the Destiny 2 community as well as we do, don't be surprised. And I'm going to point this to Pantheon Week 4. Nezarec, if you know about this, if you don't, and you hopefully hear this before Final Shape drops, this is your moment to go do it. Nezarec, back of the arena on the left side, there's a wall of root. You can literally jump from the platform to the wall. That's literally your DPS spot. You don't have to worry about Nezarec come charging at you. He'll throw a couple of void slashes at you, and that's about it. Pop a well, you're good. Now, post well change, let's say that scenario is still there. And even I would like to test this on regular Root of Nightmare to see if that wall still actually works. It would be very interesting post TFS to see if that trick would work, because I would reckon that those void slashes could potentially still one-shot a player on impact. Yeah. So this would mean that freaking players would have to learn to duck out of the way for freaking for incoming damage, and then pop back in the well to make sure that they're covered for a bit. So this is definitely going to be interesting when it comes to endgame content.
Right. And like my biggest fear though, and like I think Bungie kind of like rectified my biggest fear, which was, what is this going to do for things like Atheon, things like War Priest, things like Oryx, where Bungie pretty much remade in the case of Atheon and Oryx, those encounters were to be well oriented. And I think the big thing that Bungie kind of did here was go, hey, now you can still use it, but it's not necessary. Like, you have other things to play with, but like, is it still handy to have at least one well warlock? Yes. But do you need it? Not necessarily. Like, they're trying to curb it without destroying it, is what I'm kind of seeing here. So I will say lower skill players are going to be hurting for a little bit until they adjust, but it's not as bad as it could have been, which I appreciate.
So I'll say this. I have a feeling that when it comes to a lot of content, and let's take a look at one of the biggest one, the Riven Cheese. We all know that the only way you could really trim the toenails was by popping a well there. Now with the healing reduced and even the damage reduction, it's a possibility that you may not be able to trim the toenails anymore, which forces players yet again to do rhythm legit, unless they find another form of cheese.
Yeah.
Behemoth
What's
Titan.
another?
Yeah.
Yeah. um, there's a lot of encounters that are definitely have to be relooked at as far as whether or not well is, popping a well at the original location is still viable, or you're gonna have to do something like, let's say, Templars. Templars,
Ooh.
everybody knows about the cheese for Templars. But the question is, could you still stand there in the new well and be able to do the freaking DPS check? It's quite possible that's going to force players to do the original intended encounter.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Now, let's talk about something I like to call Bungie. What the hell are you doing?
Oh
What
boy.
do I what do I mean, Jay? Like, what do you mean, JP? Well, what I mean specifically is for some reason Bungie decided to nerf Ward of Dawn. And what they did specifically was they removed the Armor of Light Overshield and replaced it with Void Overshield. And Armor of Light now grants additional damage resistance to players inside the dome, 30% versus enemy players, and 60% versus enemy combatants. And like PvE and shit. Effective health of players inside the dome remains roughly the same as it was against PvE combatants. Effectively, health of players inside the dome is lower against players in PvP and cannot be further increased by stacking bastion barricades, etc. Allies near the bubble now have Void Overshield trickled on over time. And the really controversial thing here, they put Weapons of Light onto Helm of Saint 14 by default. And the Ward of Dawn caster can now generate additional orbs of power by defeating enemies with melee attacks in or near their Ward of Dawn dome. Now,
I think
So before we talk about this, I did want to address this statement, and I've seen this a couple of times, but let's address it. So some people are saying the way to negate the nerf to well is going to be for the warlock to put down a healing rift. Well, no. Well, of Radiance does not stack with healing rift. Number one. Number two. Well is the better one because one healing rift is only 40 HP per second versus the 50 per second from well. Second of all, healing rift does not provide damage resistance. It only does it on the cast. And that's
sir,
only
does
for the
someone give you a time
caster.
machine? Because you
What's
went
that?
back you went backwards. I'm moving on to bubble, fam.
I know. It's just that I saw the statement in chat, and I was like, let's address this
Okay, cool. But like,
because
it was
I
reinforced on a whole
guarantee you
different feature.
the Destiny 2 community has this tendency of, oh well, this is how you're gonna do it. It's like, no.
I mean, don't get
Bungie
me
has,
wrong. Stag will probably help when it comes to the whole like
oh
well
yeah,
situation.
there's gonna be exotics that we're gonna see pop out of, be like, hey, I haven't used this in a god awful minute, and guess what? It's gonna become the meta. So people are going to be going from something like Lunafaction or even freaking Phoenix Protocol to be, we're going to run the freaking antlers again.
Yeah, so we'll see. But like, nah, Razeki, what were you gonna say before I go off about Bubble?
Oh, about Bubble? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Bubble is in a unique spot where this change I don't think is a nerf to Bubble, but it's instead carving out a new niche for what it's supposed to do. Because currently it competes with Well of Radiance for the same benefit, but it's obviously worse because you can't damage anything while you're in the bubble. You're just going to rocket yourself. So what I think Bungie is doing is they're changing Ward of Dawn to be less of an offensive super and more of a pure defensive option. So in like GMs, you're going to want to take Ward of Dawn over something like Well of Radiance because Well now isn't going to be the don't die button, right? Ward of Dawn is going to be the don't die button. And they don't want to couple that with letting players double dip into the extra damage without using something like Helm of Saint 14. And then also, I think in PvP, it needed the axe. So
like, okay, here's what I'm gonna say to that. I think Bungie needs to revisit the concept of we have two different sandboxes here. And like they're trying to, you can see in the description, they're trying to like play in that little bit like, hey, you have different damage resistance based off of PvP versus PvE. But here's the thing. What's the problem with letting Bubble be the GOAT anywhere else? Because like when everyone started speculating of well nerfs and whatnot, I was like, Bubble Titans rise back up. We're finally getting back to the good old days where we're the ones dropping the dome and being the support for the team. And then Bungie goes, nah, F that. Like, this doesn't feel like a nerf or a change that benefits us in PvE, because I like, there was even a post that Cosmo made a few months back where he was like, hey, what changes do you want to see for exotics? Let us know. And I was like, yeah, yo, hear me out. Saint 14 is supposed to be the best, the strongest Titan in the whole galaxy. Why does his helm damn near do nothing?
Well, now it does something.
Now it does something, but they took something that was intrinsic to Bubble that had been there since D1 vanilla, and they just said, nah, it's on Saint's helmet. Rather than actually doing something like what I said before the Doomfang pauldron change, where it gives you 4 times void damage, I had said like a few months back prior to that, give it to Saint 14 helm, because that way people wearing Saint's helmet do more damage. It made so much sense. But now it's like, hey, if you don't wear the helmet, yo, Bubble ain't doing shit. And it's like, what are we doing here? And like, and someone even like was in my replies on Tuesday when this article dropped, or like it was on Wednesday, and they were like, "Oh, Titans have been gutted." And truth be told, it kind of feels like we're getting hard gutted in a lot of ways, because like Void, Arc, and Solar were already hanging on by a thread in terms of usage in PvE. And now with the strain changes that we'll get into, like Titans don't really have a whole lot of plan for endgame content. And now they're like, hey yo, we're hitting Bubble when if anything, Bubble needed a buff. And they're like, nah, we're gonna nerf it even more. And it's like, why? Like ever since Season of the Splicer, when they made it so Bubble gave you less health or even overshield than well, it's been like, bro, where is the chance for Bubble Titans to even do anything? And it feels weird because they're like, hey, we're not even going to give you Bubble with Prismatic. We're going to give you Twilight Arsenal. And it's like, Bungie, this wasn't the way to make us use your new toy. Like, you needed to give Bubble a new chance at life. Since you're getting hardening the well lock, the Bubble Titan get a game back. And they're like, Axis.
That's why they also didn't give Prismatic well. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be the devil's advocate on this one. And I'm gonna say this. I think Bungie had an idea and knew Bungie, I believe at this point, knows the Destiny 2 community quite well. You shift the meta, the Destiny 2 community is going to look for the new meta, the new way of doing something in order to be, back to the same old business of getting shit done quicker and less stress. Let's be honest, that's the freaking go-to and the way to do things. That being said, if they didn't make any changes to Bubble, it would be like, okay, Warlocks, do whatever you want. Titans, you're all running Void. You're all running
that. I wanted that.
And trust me when I say I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I miss those days, bro.
Trust me. I used to do freaking Titan Void bubbles in Garden of Salvation, and yes, that shit actually works.
Yeah,
anyway, but to be honest, yeah, it sucks, and I can kind of see why Bungie did this. Now, when it comes to at the end of the day, how is this going to shift the meta? How is this going to affect rating, dungeons, master content, even contests? Here's the thing. We're about to go into freaking contest mode day one with these new changes. This is really going to test a lot of players.
Yeah.
And it's really going to start to show which players crunched in Well and now soon Bubble. And which ones aren't able to crunch with that. So it's going to be interesting. But to be honest, when it comes to Well, I was really shocked at how much the freaking damage resist got knocked down. And to be honest, when it comes to Bubble, I'm right there with you. Taking the Weapon of Light away from the Bubble, as long as it's been on there, was a bit of a shock for me. And so I'm going to have to assume that Bungie knows something that we don't. But at the same time, we'll get into the whole Helm of Saint 14 later.
Well, not really. There's nothing
Or
else.
do we want to talk about that right now?
They're not changing anything. Like that's the thing.
Well, okay. So what I'm referring to is the fact that in the exotic armor tuning, they mentioned the ability armor tuning. They're moving Weapon of Light to Helm of Saint 14. They don't tell us anything else about Helm of Saint 14 in the freaking exotic tuning.
Right,
that's what the hell, Bungie?
Right, and like I was even saying like, hey, I was on Twitter. Someone was like, oh, they ruined Bubble. If they do something else to Helm of Saint 14 besides give it Weapons of Light, maybe it might be worth using because. And the thing about it is, the whole point of like the reason why you never saw like Helm in PvP was because they added the exotic swap modifier, where like if you change your exotic, you lose all your super and ability energy. So like no one used Helm anymore as a swap tool. But and the thing that kind of kills me overall is Bungie kind of solved their problem of curbing bubble usage already in the article, where they're like, hey, additionally, we're making it so we're getting rid of the tier system for all the other supers. So it was like, Bungie, what, you've already solved your problem. You've given the tool to curb the Void Titan usage. The only reason why you saw high Void Titan usage was because of Bubble. You don't have to nerf it anymore. And then they're like, nah, we're gonna nerf it anyway. Like it feels like the same thing they did with Lord of Wolves like last year, where they were like, oh, Lord of Wolves is seeing usage because of Omnioculus hunters, so we're gonna nerf Omnioculus and Lord of Wolves. It's like, no, you don't need to do both.
Like, I'm gonna loop us back a little bit to Helm, because I was talking about it a little bit before we went live, but Helm of Saint 14 has a little secret interaction where it works with Edge of Action and the bubble glaive. Mm-hmm. So if it still works the way it does currently, Helm of Saint 14 is going to give Edge of Action Weapons of Light.
Yeah.
Which means you don't have to, first of all, you don't have to wear it on a Void subclass anymore.
Oh.
And you don't have to worry about your super cooldown. You just have to get kills with the glaive to charge it. So you're going to have access to Weapons of Light without the need for Bubble or without the need for the Void subclass, which I think is going to be huge, a huge buff to Helm.
We'll have to see, but like I'm concerned. I really feel like, especially with the fact that like the Arc Titan supers didn't see any buffs or changes with this article too, I find myself concerned. I find myself really concerned for Titans moving into final shape. It doesn't feel like Bungie has done enough, and it seems like they're kind of like soft nerfing everything when there was only one bad kid in the classroom, and we'll get to that later on. Like it's very concerning. But let's go ahead and move into Arc. So Arc, kind of like in terms of abilities, Arc swinging with big dick energy. Like hunters are getting like interactions for Arc staff. They're getting they got a little bit of a nerf to disorienting blows. Like
they knocked the cooldown. They didn't nerf it. They knocked the cooldown.
Yeah, I just read that
lower. Which
Tempest Strike is getting a bit of a buff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Lightning Surge, additional lingering damage resist on cast and PvE, which that was an interesting thing that I saw. A lot of the melee casts, the animations, you're getting a damage resist across all the subclasses. That was very interesting, and I really love that for Bungie, especially for Titans. Titans, get ready! You're gonna be thunderclapping some cheeks.
That's the one thing from this article that I was like, cool, I actually can use point contact cannon brace in final shape again. Like, because like they're making the ball of lightning a little bit bigger, and then chain lightning for our warlocks is going from base damage 27 to 54. But for Titans, they're giving us more damage in terms of the minimum. Like if you just press thunderclap, you get 20% more damage, and then if you fully charge that motherfucker, you're getting a 33% damage against PvE combatants and a 14% boost against enemy players in PvP. So that's really freaking cool. And they're making it so you have actual additional damage resistance against PvE combatants while you're charging it. So you're able to tank a lot and put out a lot more damage, especially with things like the point contact cannon brace, which, yeah, bitch, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Now, one other thing, Storm, Skip, and Arc Bolt grenades all got increased PvE damage. So the reason why I bring this up is I remember when I started doing TikToks one of the videos that popped off was when I talked about Shinobu's vow for Arc Hunters. Yes, I know Arc Hunters, it's all about either Liar's Handshake or freaking Assassin's Cowl. But Shinobu's vow for Season of the Deep was really, really good. Especially for freaking deep dives, because of how many freaking grenades you were chucking. And then if you had forbearance, freaking you were freaking like nonstop grenading. Now with the new forbearance from Brave and what I've been able to do, get ready, hunters. Shinobu's vow, dust it off. Get ready. That's gonna cook. With that 15% damage increase, with Shinobu's vow, you actually get more skip grenades and double the charge.
That's very true.
You're going to be churning out some grenades nonstop. This is going to be a really fun build. But then they also made some adjustments to some of the sparks. And I like this one, Spark of Beacons. So for those that don't know, Spark of Beacons, if you get a special arc weapon kill, it would cause a blinding explosion while amplified. They're extending that now to power weapons. So if you're rocking something like, let's say, freaking Forbearance or freaking Indebted Kindness.
Hullabaloo.
Aquarius. About the freaking cool.
Aquarius, my guy.
Oh, this is gonna be so freaking good.
Thunderlord, my guy.
And by the way, that blinding explosion stuns champs.
Yeah. And that also real quick. Can we address the fact that for some reason when it comes to Pantheon or just endgame rating right now, there's this stigma where people hate Thunderlord? Like, can y'all get off the Thunderlord hate train? Like,
it's good.
Like leave it alone. It's a good tool. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm more of a Geo guy than a machine gun guy. Yeah. But like, why are we throwing hate at Thunderlord when it didn't deserve it? I don't get it.
So yeah, so I get where some people look at it and they see it as a crutch in some content, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Buffus Hunter put it well said. He did damage results against a standard rotation of Izanagi's Burden and a freaking rocket with bait and switch. Okay. Yes, it's going to perform. It's going to it's going to be OP, good shit. But then you got freaking Thunderlord with the catalyst. It does consistent damage. Are the numbers different? Yes, by far. There's a difference. But the thing is that there is a skill and there's also a risk and reward when doing the Izanagi and the bait and switch. If you miss your shot, you're screwed and you're losing out on damage. Whereas the machine gun Thunderlord with the catalyst, if you're able to stay on target, you're going to get consistent damage. So there's to me, it's always one of those things. There's a use case. If I've got a new light, and I'm talking about new light, I'm not talking about a seasoned raider or someone that has access to a lot of weapons. If I've got a new light with the catalyst for Thunderlord, okay, sure, go ahead, rock it. But if they've got the weaponry, then yes, I want to teach them how to use the weaponry so that they have good, proper rotation. It's a matter of understanding time and place, and
right? Yeah,
reading the room.
And like, I'll admit, someone in chat was like, "Oh, Thunderlord got hate because it got popularized because of a glitch." But here's the thing: Thunderlord's an OG D1 gun. It used to have two brothers too, but we don't talk about that no more. Like we don't we don't talk about Bruno like that. But like the issue at hand is like. But I really feel like Bungie like did a cool thing when they gave it a catalyst. They just needed to reprogram it, and I feel like it's a cool weapon. If someone was using it for DPS and they're putting up numbers, like I remember for day one Ron, like when the glitch was going on and I had triple arc reserves or surges on, I had top deeps and people were like, "Oh, yo, JP, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I have Thunderlord with triple arc resurgence." "Oh, that doesn't work," and I'm like, "My numbers are higher than yours. The fuck are you talking about?" Like it doesn't make any sense. So it's like if motherfuckers are putting in work, motherfuckers are putting in work. I don't get the audacity. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's what it is. Now
people like being elitist and saying you need, the best DPS rotation that the speedrunners are using. And it's like, for the content that most people do, consistency and damage is way more important. Like 90% of the player base isn't doing master raids or day ones, right? You could just run what's going to get the job done. And if you are doing
if you
massive
are in that
content,
content,
you've
that's
got
different.
what you need. You
Right,
already
and
got
that's
the
one thing I've
weapons.
appreciated from your
Like,
videos of you is you've been pretty honest about that. You're like, hey, some shit's good for certain shit. Like
Yeah.
I think the issue with a lot of content creators is they just tell people, hey yo, this is goated. But then they don't talk about the fact that hey yo, this is only goated for certain content.
yeah,
And
I
that's kind
got
of the
so
issue.
many negative comments when I made that video about your god roll isn't as important as you think it is. And
Mm,
you know, it's because people don't understand, like it's not so much, you know, that it's not good. Obviously, a bait and switch Apex is insane, right? I'm not
Oh
saying it's
yeah.
bad, right?
right.
But you don't need it for everything. And, you know, as long as you're putting up the damage that you need to get the job done and you're having fun, like that's all that matters. You're not trying to beat Salta Greppo for the day one
Right.
title. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I've got 2 roles of freaking Apex Predator, and for the
Same.
longest time, I was running around with Recon Bipod,
I
Mhm.
still
and
do.
and trust me, it's freaking amazing. Now I'm still trying to work on tweak a rotation to do for that can match it. I'm not looking to exceed it, just match the bait and switch in freaking something like Pantheon. When you need a rocket, because the ammo economy on the Recon Bipod is so damn good. You pick up a brick, you got a full mag right there. And that's
So
4 rockets.
right. So I definitely feel like a lot of people need to get over that, but I also feel like content creators need to like vocalize, hey, this gun and this god roll is only good for here. Because I remember when after Cajun told me about Reconstruction Bipod on Apex, I was running around in GMs with it and putting in work. And then people would
Oh,
come through
it's
my
so
chat
good
and
in
be like, why
GMs.
don't you have bait and switch on your rocket? And I'm like, cause Bipod, I have 4 rockets and a 1 rocket clip, bro. What do you want from me? Like, and they'd be like, how are you doing that? I'm like, because I have bipod. Oh, that's trash. I'm like, then why'd you ask, motherfucker? Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't make any
and like
sense.
in GMs, you don't need the extra damage from bait and switch because you're not fighting bosses most of the time. There's like one
Right.
boss.
Right.
So if you're just trying to like kill a champ or two, having that recombination and having all those bullets in the mag is just, or rockets in the mag, I guess, is way more beneficial than the extra damage you get from doing a damage
Exactly.
swap.
Right. So, I just feel like folks need to work on that specifically. Now, let's get hot in here, folks, because Solar Titan, Solar Hunter first. Hunter's getting some cool shit. You got more knives. You got like for your life,
That was I'll be honest, I was really shocked with that one.
they made your
Lightweight
lightweight
knife
knife
getting
have an extra
additional charge,
charge.
but it's not going to interact with Asphydia
Video
Fade.
space.
Is
Thank
videos
you.
fade.
Sorry, words be hard. But they also increased the throw speed, which yes, thank you. Thank you. So I'm definitely going to be now have something to use instead of knife trick. I'm
Yeah, so that
looking
was
forward to
definitely a
that.
cool idea. I appreciate that they did that specifically. And then from there, they're also like, hey, we'll increase the animation speed, we'll reduce the suppression time between throws and whatnot, which is cool. And then they're like, hey, we're gonna reduce the internal cooldown for knock them down, which was kind of cool. Now here's the thing
I didn't
that
even
I
know I
was
had an
really
ICD.
I appreciate that this finally came because it's finally gonna shut up some of the high tier raiders. Golden gun orbs of power is coming down, folks. No more infinite goldies for you
No more
kids.
chaining.
Because
Yeah,
what we were seeing was 6-man teams going into things like Oryx with infinite golden guns, and now they're like, yo, non-boss enemies, you're losing some orbs. Bosses, you're losing some orbs. Bosses, while you have Star Eaters, are getting less orbs, and I'm like, bravo, bravo.
yeah.
Let's make
I
it
mean,
happen.
that all started to stem from the Cali farm from
Mm-hmm.
Last Wish when the
Yeah.
Last Wish weaponry got craftable. People ran in there and they started doing that, and since then it's kind of been like leaking over, bleeding over into other things.
It's happening in Pantheon too.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they're doing. Yes, I saw the video about that, and I was like, you this is what I'm talking about when y'all get these little cockamamie ideas. Like, don't get me wrong. Every now and again, if you come up with a crazy idea and it works, hey, kudos. I give you props. But when you
Mr.
start
Nezarek
abusing,
Sin Strand.
hey, the shit works. Anyways, but when you freaking start to abuse the living shit out of it, don't be surprised when Bungie freaking chops it off at the knees, and that's what they did. So
Now, let's talk about some hammers, kids, because Bungie finally did something that I've been asking for a while. Because Bungie seems to keep trying to move the needle ever so slightly in inches when it comes to consecration. And I'm like, Bungie, stop holding back the gas. Just put the foot to the board and actually do something. Because what I've been saying ever since Consecration first came out with Solar 3.0 is that it didn't do shit. People can dodge it too easily, so they fix the tracking. Then they're like, oh, it's not tall enough. They raise the column. And like now they're like, hey, you have a whole exotic that ties into it, which Bungie, I'm still waiting for my check about that. But then now then I'm like, hey, this thing still doesn't do enough damage. And finally Bungie's like, fine, we'll make it do more damage. They're making you do 20 more additional percent against PvE combatants. They're making it so it can shatter stasis crystals, thank God. They're making it so the slam that was sometimes unable to do damage to floating enemies. Like especially especially because we're getting fucking bats with guns in Final Shape. That's gonna be good for that. And the fact and the DR that you were supposed to get while you were doing consecration wasn't applying, so they fixed that. Thank God. So I'm just like so happy. So fucking happy.
I'm gonna be having a shitload of fun doing that with freaking consecration, motherfucker. Which, by the way, I told JP about this. Birthplace of the Vile. You want to have some fun? 3 Solar Titans, all Pyro Gale, and literally trade off consecration. But the fun bit is that with Bonk Hammer, as soon as someone uses consecration, just throw a Bonk Hammer at them. They got refresh on their freaking consecration.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of refreshing, consecration is going to be absolutely bonkers on Prismatic because if you take Frenzied Blade, you get 3 charges.
Yup.
And because you can shatter crystals, you get knockout and you can shatter crystals. So
Diamond Lances.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They really scooped it up.
I might be putting my hunter down for a while for a bit. I might be picking up them crayons.
Well, like, and the thing about it is, like you're gonna have to choose one or the other, whether you want knockout and consecration or knockout and diamond lances. But even then, consecration. So you'll be able to tie consecration with knockout and have tons of motherfucking damage, or you can have consecration and diamond lances and run around and be like hammer, spear, and it's gonna be nutty. I'm here for it. Like, oh, I'm so excited, bro. You don't understand. And then one thing that I really appreciate is Bungie is making a change to Hammer of Soul, where if you don't want to run sunspots and like actually run roaring flames with the consecration, they're increasing the damage and the projectile lifetime of the Hammer of Soul and the shrapnel damage. But that way you're not forced to run sunspots if you want big damage with hammers, which is so cool because that means you can do things like consecration with roaring flames and have like big more damage with that. So especially if you're not running prismatic, that's a great way to incentivize people to try new ideas out. So I'm here for that. And then swarm grenades got a little bit of a buff, so if you like swarm grenades, there you go.
That's gonna be interesting, especially in PvE. Because you're already trying to compete against, fusion grenades as well as freaking thermite. But all right, this is gonna be some sour notes for some people. Strand.
Deserved.
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad.
Okay, look, as someone who did solo Ghost of the Deep, which Strand Titan, even I have to admit. Okay, and I wanted to ignore it. I wanted to be like, no, I wasn't busted. No.
Well, here's my big
coming. This was coming, and we just had to admit it.
Well, and here's the thing about it too. I have been really frustrated with the end game PvE community about this because I'm over here like, hey, what's a good build for Arc and a good build for Void and Solar and whatnot for the raid and whatnot. And people are like, don't worry about it, just use Strand Titan. Or I'm like, what should I run if I want to run like solo Warlords or solo this? Don't just run Strand Titan. Or I ask people, I ask people for builds for GMs. They go, don't run anything, run Strand Titan. And it's like, why? Why is that your instinct? Why is that your first thing to do? Because it's busted. And then when I tell people, hey, Titan overall has a lot of problems. Titan needs to be examined and reworked because our melees are trash without certain exotics. Our abilities are trash overall when it comes to our different like grenades are kind of standard. So that is a problem, but our supers are lackluster overall. Like Sentinel Shield, trash unless you're blocking. Fists of Havoc, trash. T-Crash, trash without Curious. Hammers, man. Like Big Hammer, man, unless you have Pyrogale. Still waiting on my check on that, Bungie. Bubble is even worse now. Stasis is kind of getting like buff overall, but we'll have to see how that goes. Strand was the only reason why when I would say Stasis or Titan has problems, people would go, but you have Strand Titan, so you're the best class in the game. And I'm like, no, that's not an excuse. That's not a thing. And it made me start to hate Strand Titan despite me loving the concept and the lore around Strand, because it was like, bro, why is this the reason why we haven't examined why Titan needs just a giant overhaul? Why is this the thing that has people so stuck in the mud of like, hey, don't run anything else, just run this? Like, it was a reckoning that needed to happen, and I'm hoping once this happens and we go into final shape. But like, I had this meme where I was like the little baby and like the kid drowning and the skeleton in the water. It felt like Strand Titan is over here. You see Arc and Solar holding on by a thread because of Curious and Pyrogale, and then the rest of the subclasses are the skeleton underwater. Like it really felt
Not
like
wrong.
like honestly, like it feels like Titan is suffering right now, and because of things like PvP, where our neutral game exotics are good, and then Strand Titan, people didn't want to talk about the fact that Titan has so many problems. But then you go into PvP, Titan's busted, bitch. No, it's not. Our neutral game exotics are just good, and you think we're just busted because they're good. They're not great. They're good. And you have hunters and warlocks where their melees are good. Their supers are pretty good, if not average, and that's fine. Like, literally, a warlock, same thing. Like, it's very concerning that we keep having this issue where Titans are struggling, and then people are like, nerf Titans even harder. Like, what?
Yeah, when I was looking at every subclass and every class and like analyzing how they actually performed. Now, I'm not a Titan player by any means, right? So, I didn't realize that Titan had so many problems, but then I started looking at their kit and I was like, there's nothing here. All of these subclasses are dog.
Like,
what is going on? And like they have sustain, they have things in them, but like if you look at Void Titan, you can't activate half the stuff in the kit without Overshield, and you don't have any tools to get Overshield. And it's like, what is going on?
But yet there are people out there that are calling for freaking things like Bastion to get nerfed.
Because they don't fight it in PvP. They want this to be Call of Duty so they can run around like crackheads. And I want to set the record straight. And matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up just for the sake of the argument real quick, because I want to have it in front of me. If you pull up Steam right now, Steam is categorized as a free-to-play open-world RPG looter shooter. This game is literally meant to be an RPG at its core. Bungie has even said this game is considered an MMO at times. They have said this game is considered to be an MMO. And yet there's still so many people that will say this game is a shooter at its core. We shouldn't have abilities and man. I'm like, why are you here? Go back to Call of Duty and bitching about why they like your game costs $70 and get out my face.
Yeah,
like,
if you don't want abilities, go to Borderlands.
Honestly, like, like go play X Defiant or something. Like go play like someone else. Like I'm so sick of the PvP community or just the sweat lords from the PvP community coming in and being like, "Hey yo, we want no abilities, we want nothing but gunplay." Then wait for a marathon. Like, get out of my face. Like I like if you don't want the core aspects of Destiny to be a play where it's half abilities and half gunplay, you're playing the wrong game. You just like that Bungie made good gunplay. That's not a reason to be here. I'm sorry. I know it hurts to hear, but it ain't for you to be here right now. I hate that you feel like you can't play your shit. And I'm sorry that the COD community calls you slurs, but like this isn't a reason to be mad at me and want to ruin my experience with the game. And it's frustrating because like all I hear from different people is like nerf barricade, nerf bubble, yada yada yada, and it's like Bungie. Like I said months back, Bungie doesn't need to nerf bubble. They just needed to fix the tier system or get rid of Dominion. And Bungie threw too many rocks, and now Titan's just hurting, and it's so frustrating.
Right,
Stop
hear me
throwing
out,
rocks.
JP. Hear me out. Hear me out.
All right, hit me.
Play Hunter. Play Hunter.
I don't want to. I can't do it. Like even today, like I was in an LFP trying to get my fucking Pantheon 4th week done, and someone was like, "Hey, I watched an above video, and if we run 6 golden gun hunters, we can just cheese Riven." I was like, "All right."
I'm right there. I felt that too. Trust me. It's like, you know what? I'm almost tempted to be petty and say fuck being a hunter.
Like
just because of that.
No, I was like, you know what? I'll take it. Fuck it. We got this far because we got through Atrax and planets. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll hop on D2 armor picker and make a build real quick. And literally every time we got to the 3rd floor, everybody died. Like it wasn't fun. I don't like your kit. I played your kit, especially when the roach pandemic. I mean, the threadling nonsense was going on. I call it the roach pandemic. But like when that was going on, I got 2 free trials lighthouses out of it. But like it's not fun. It's not for me.
Yeah.
I like being a thick bitch punching bitches. I'm sorry. It's just how I've always been.
Well, speaking about punching bitches. Freaking
goodbye punching.
Yeah,
it was nice knowing you.
Bungie finally addressed Stranded Banner of War.
Yes,
and this was, I gotta say, it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
But it was definitely interesting. So first things first, they went after grapple and grapple tangles. So grapple tangles, full duration refreshes, replaced by a gradual decreasing duration increase on consecutive uses as low as up to 1 second. So in other words, the grapple tangles aren't going to last as long. Grapple melee, no longer usable when firing between grapple activation and grapple melee. So about the only time you ever kind of really saw this was in some instances of PvE. But then a lot of the times, and I saw it, I was firsthand recipient of this in PvP.
Because you would grapple and then shoot your gun and then punch a motherfucker. That was the whole idea behind it.
So, needless to say, but it still doesn't resolve the whole, 1-2 punch shotgun, because essentially now you shot, and this is what a lot of people have been doing: shotgun, grapple, melee, and you're still within that window of the 1-2 punch.
But at the same time, though, what they also did was, if you're wearing Strand and you're wearing Synthos or Worm God, your damage is reduced. So
yeah,
like they've curved it a little bit where you can't just like kill a whole dungeon or raid boss by yourself. You can't one phase Templar or one phase a Warlord's Ruin boss by yourself, which was kind of the intent and what I was looking for, was them to curb that.
Yeah. So in the case of using, the melee portion, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Do I suspect that you probably might be able to freaking, like in the case of Warlord's Ruin, you're probably still going to be able to do 1 phase, if not a 2 phase.
It'll probably be a 2 phase every time. It'll probably be a 2 phase every time. You have to reset, but it won't be a 1 phase.
So the other thing that they also did is that they reduced the maximum timer of Banner of War from 30 to 24 seconds. So
that won't be felt that much, honestly. That
won't,
like, as someone who runs Banner of War a lot, you won't see a lot of pressure from that. As long as you have a dense enough activity, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you're keeping up your APM.
Right. Now, into the fray, they reduced the melee regeneration scaler in PvE.
Good.
That's where it's going to be felt the worst. And I would not be surprised if a lot of Titans at that point are going to have to start running Monte Carlo and then freaking put the 1-2 punch shotgun in the energy slot in order to freaking, because at that point, you're going to have to freaking put away Tractor.
You don't have to play with Tractor. You'll have to hot swap from fucking the Strand trace rifle into Monty. Like, it'll definitely change the game, but like people have already had certain 1-2 punch shotguns lined up, like the Gambit shotgun, like
Matador.
like not even Matador, just like because people found out that the Gambit shotgun hand in hand, I believe it's called, is really good for 1-2 punch, and also Xenoclast, the Vanguard shotgun, is really good for 1-2 punch. So you're gonna see a lot of people resulting to that as their fallback plan if they have to use Monty more than anything. So
Yeah.
you'll still see some people. Oh, it's called dead weight, not hand to hand. Hand to hand is a different gun, but like.
Yeah.
But the point still stands. You're going to see a lot less action when it comes to this. You're going to see some people fall off it for a little bit and resort to trying new things. But honestly, like I said, it just feels like this is the final nail in the coffin for Titan, where like now nothing we really do beyond like Pyrogale and Curus is going to be that good. Like, yeah, we have Precious Scars, and like Eternal Warrior is, as we'll talk about, is going to get more of a neutral game refocus. But it just, I don't think there's going to be a lot of usage for Titans and endgame content for a minute.
Now, one more thing before we finish up with Strand and the ability tuning. Wolf and Male got reduced from duration, got reduced from 10 to 5 seconds. That's going to be felt.
Yep.
Unless you're pooping out orbs like nobody's business, that's going to be really felt. And
I mean, like when people use Into
Titan,
the Fray, like really people using Into the Fray for team support, you'll feel it. But like, you'll be fine.
Now this was interesting. Ensnaring Slam.
Mm-hmm.
The detonation volume versus player is now they said cylinder instead of a sphere.
Yeah.
So basically, if you jump over the friggin' slam, you're not going to get caught in it. Which I didn't realize that was a freaking thing.
Yeah.
In which Bungie, I kind of question that in PvP from my experience, but hey, I'm just a PvP pleb. The other thing was that Weaver's Call strand damage kills have a chance to create a perched threadling. Now, this is in relation to Warlocks.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you're in your rift, now when you cast your rift, you would get your threadling built, but then that was it. Now, as you're standing in your rift, as you make kills, you're going to generate more threadlings.
Mm-hmm.
And threadlings can make more threadlings.
Yes.
Exactly. So freaking Warlocks, you are the king of roaches. Have fun with that.
Which is what Bungie originally pitched them to be, was the king of roaches. But then you saw hunters in PvP with fucking multiple grenades and 6 Coyote having 15 roaches at one time. And it was like, Bungie, didn't you intend for this to go somewhere else? Like, well, wasn't there a whole different plan for this?
Yeah, it's like how Titans were supposed to be the suspenders, and then Warlocks just became the suspend class.
And
like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand. And then we'll skate through Void real quick. Void, that they're making Trapper's Ambush go up a little bit, Snare Bombs up a little bit, and then one thing that I really enjoy, and there's actually the one good change that they're doing to Void is they're increasing the shield throw for Titan, where the bounce goes up to 5, the lifetime goes up to from 3 to 4 seconds, and they're increasing the damage of it and the size of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me a lot of hope that maybe Second Chance might be worth it in a GM, maybe finally.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like because that was the whole idea, was they gave it intrinsic anti-barrier, but then there was like no GMs with anti-barrier, so it was like, what's the fucking point? And like now I'm hoping with this we're gonna see some cool shit happen. So
this reminds me of the buff to Threaded Spike a while back on Strand Hunter, where it was just inconsistent. It didn't go as far, didn't hit as many enemies.
Right.
So people weren't really taking advantage of it, even though it was the only melee on Strand Hunter. But you know, whatever. And
Nova
the shield
Bomb
throw
for Warlocks also got some freaking improvements.
A little bit.
I was actually kind of stoked with that. And then Pocket Singularity, PvE detonation damage, 50%. Holy shit. Hey,
Boom.
it's PvE, not PvP.
As long as it's not PvP, because sometimes that thing can fucking already one-shot you in PvP, so I'm kind of glad they didn't buff that at all in PvP, or I would have been crying. But let's talk about some armor, kids.
Armor,
so Bungie did something that a previous co-host would have been super excited about. They buffed Triton Vice.
Yes. Yes. I'm so happy. That exotic has been sleeper since it came out, and I'm so happy that it keeps getting little nudges. Bungie's like, we know it's good, but no one's using it. Let's just.
That's how I felt about Precious
Give it a
Scars
little-
back in the day, where I was like, this thing has promise. I need Bungie to care about this thing. And then Precious Scars reached its apex. Now I'm like, maybe Triton Vice might actually be the thing to make Glaive worth a damn. Like, I'm excited about that.
There's a pop build on Void, which maybe people will start to use a little bit more, because now you don't need to match your subclass, but we'll see.
We'll have to see. Like, maybe we can get like someone to become like the Sammy Cat of Glaives and have like just an all Glaive build.
So okay, since we're starting off on hunters, Dragon Shadow now works with ensnaring, slam, and ascension, which
Ascension Arc is the new like the little twirly thing they do in the trailers.
Yep. To me, it's kind of like does that really make it worth it to use? It's kind of like that's not the rework I was really thinking it was going to go with.
It's not so much of a like improvement as just a consistency thing. Like both Ensnaring Slam and Ascension work off of your class ability cooldown, so just tying those in with the Dragon Shadow is just like, okay, it works for all class ability related things, like whatever.
You did the thing you should have did in the first place. Good job. Like it just feels weird. Then from there,
I was gonna say foe tracer weapon buffs now apply based on the damage type of the ability used, allowing multiple damage types buffs with prismatic. I'm freaking stoked for that. As someone who loves to use Strand foe tracer, freaking absolutely freaking love it.
Like you're not locked to a subclass anymore, which is really freaking cool. I like that a lot.
So with foe tracer, it wasn't locked to a subclass. It could be used with anything. So it was really good with solar. It was really good with Strand. Now that they're making it that can be utilized with something like foe tracer, freaking you set up your kit just right. Oh, this is gonna be fun. 6 Coyote. Now they also did this for Armamentarium with this. So 6 Coyote now has built-in Reaper mod. If you don't know what Reaper mod is, essentially when you use your class ability and you get a kill real quick, you get an orb. For Armamentarium, it's going to be you kill something with a grenade, you get an orb from it. It's built-in firepower. I kind of like that they did this because now that frees up a mod slot when you're using that. And let's be honest, 6 Coyotes pretty freaking goated in some builds. So this is going to be really interesting how this is going to play out.
Most definitely.
A mod slot, and then it also makes the exotic feel just a little bit more exotic, especially because the exotic class items have 6 Coyote and Armamentarium built in, and it was the same effect as the exotic itself. So it was like, why would I ever use the original if I could just use the class item instead? And this makes it feel a little bit more worth it.
Well, yeah, and also and then with Rule Grass they gave it Frost Armor, but then like I like Frost Armor keywords and tied into it, which is really cool. But then the one thing I want to talk about specifically, Star Eater scales. They knew what they were doing here. It wasn't just to hit the Golden Gun hunters. They specifically knew, because if you remember about 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. Star Eater scales is being given to everybody on the exotic class items.
Yeah.
So they knew for a damn fact that if Titans and Warlocks were running around with boosted supers off of 4 orbs, that'd have been kind of too busted for its own good. So I think they knew what they were doing when they were like, hey, you got to get 6 orbs now, not just 4. And yeah, they hit Golden Gun a little bit with it, which was smart. But I think the true thing they did here was hit everybody at like a little bit early on, because they knew, like, imagine boosted hammers or boosted T-Crash off of Star Eaters. Like, shit could have got real wild real quick if they would have did that. So I respect the preemptive play there, Bungie. I respect it.
Yep, it has the same end effect, but it reduces the uptime, which I think is the big thing there.
And then with Assassin's Cowl, they changed some wording to where now it requires spending a melee charge or using a finisher in order to enact its effect. Which I think that was a good change. As someone who loves Assassin's Cowl, that was definitely something that needed to be addressed.
Good change, but makes me sad.
Now let's talk about some Titan changes, kids.
Oh boy,
Ursa Furiosa's back on the menu, kids. because not only because they're making it so the new aspect Unbreakable works alongside it, because the whole idea of Unbreakable is you block a little bit and then you like
You give it
unleash a
back.
big wave of energy. So like the idea of it is like, hey, when you're guarding with Unbreakable, you get super energy off Unbreakable. That's really cool. I'm here for it. And you can increase movement speed as well, which I really enjoy. But my one wish is Bungie, I really wish you would do what you've done to Phoenix Protocol, which is give us back the ability to get our whole damn super off of one Ursa. Because I hated that change when they were like Skull of Ahamkara, Shards of Galador Ursa, you don't get to have your whole super if you do all the shits. Like, that was a dumb change. Like, I miss the days where Ursa Titans could be the goats and just throw up a shield and then have your shit back.
Here's the thing. I think that's what this is going to be doing. Because read that last bit. Grants super energy when taking damage. If you're popping that shield and holding it, you're taking damage and it's good chunky damage. You're going to be generating your freaking super back. They're probably going to limit it at around 50%, but that's 50%.
Right. But like
with the right weapon combo and enough freaking orb pooping, yeah, you're going to be able to pop your freaking, you're going to be ready again with your super.
Right.
Now you chain 2 Titans together.
That's infinite shield right there.
Yeah, you're basically trading at that point, and that used to be a trick back in the day for some content.
Yeah. And now you're able to be like, hey, main shield with the super, then go like, hey, I have 50% back, then go Unbreakable and do damage with it. So I'm kind of thinking maybe like Ursa Furiosa's back on the menu, boys. I'm thinking we might be doing some cool shit here.
Yeah.
So I have to see about that. Then Eternal Warrior no longer requires an arc subclass, which makes sense because of the exotic class items and because of the like the Prismatic overall. But they're still making it so you have to have Fists of Havoc for the after super effect. Which okay, cool. I think Eternal Warrior would have been cooler if it worked with every super, not just Fists of Havoc. But
yeah,
I digress. But then here's the crazy one that I think Bungie should have did a long time ago, but I respect them for doing it now because they know Prismatic's coming and also the exotic class items. They're making it so Khepri's Horn's damage blast gets increased by 100% in PvE. The Solar Blast now scorches each time it hits a target, instead of only scorching one time, which if you do enough scorch stacks, that could be an ignition. Hey.
Big boom.
And Khepri's Horn now benefits from the Ember of Eruption and Ember of Ashes, which is 30 plus 30 scorch in PvE and plus 15 scorch in PvP. So I'm already like, hey, if we pull up with Khepri's mixed with Draeger's Lash, and I just fucking do that's gonna be a fun time right there, kids. I'm excited about that.
Then freaking good old freaking Quad King Ferrum's gonna be losing this shit in PvE with this.
I'm excited. Heart of Most Light is getting a change from having a text effect to a symbol effect. Bravo, Bungie.
Yes.
You're updating your HUD.
And this is also coming. Yeah, this is also coming with the fact that they're making some subtle changes to the HUD layout, which bravo once again, Bungie on that. Accessibility.
The gameplay we've seen of the new HUD looks clean.
Oh,
I look at it, I was worried because, you know, everyone's so used to having everything on one section of the screen and having it just spread out seemed like, maybe this is going to be hard to pull off, but it fit. It looked good. I could tell where everything was. And obviously having Hoyle being a little less cluttery is going to be nice.
Yes, so excited. Now, I'm not that worried about the Synthocept nerf. They're making it so you only get the stuff from it from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. Cool, whatever. Let's talk about another edition of Bungie. What the fuck are you doing?
This confused me.
So Severance Enclosure, they're saying, is particularly noisy. And they're making it so the explosion that occurs when you do a finisher or you do a powered melee only occurs now when you're in sight of the damage you're doing. So for any action heroes, if you want to turn around and make an explosion happen, that's not happening anymore. But here's what the issue I have is, who was wearing Severance Enclosure?
Okay.
Like, if we're really being honest here,
Severance was like, it was super sleeper, and everyone who like realized it kind of just swept it under the rug. They didn't want to let people know. I think Datto in an early video for Season of the Wish, I think, when he put out like builds to use, he just mentioned it for like 2 seconds. He was like, "Oh yeah, Severance Enclosure is good," and said nothing else about it. Cool guy made a video about it, but it still didn't take off. It is actually really good, but no one used it. But the changes they made for it here are really weird. Like,
yeah, it feels like so unnecessary. Especially, I would have thought, if anything, they needed to figure out if Severance Enclosure needed to be a neutral game exotic where its explosion was based off your subclass. And B, like, that's what I would have done as a healthier change, is be like, hey, Severance Enclosure does like ignition damage or volatility damage or jolt or something like that when you do get a powered melee or finisher. I think that would have been profitable. Instead, it just does this explosion. Just an explosion. Like, no idea what the damage is. It could be kinetic, I don't know. But it's just an explosion. And it's like, first of all, the explosion doesn't really do that much damage. And B, what do we like? Why was this done? It just feels very weird and odd, and I don't understand what the thought process was.
And the line of sight is just, that's strange.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, sure, I guess if an enemy is behind a wall and it's technically in the AoE, like, it'd be weird for it to damage it, but also I'm pretty sure like Jolt probably goes through walls a little bit, like thin walls. I don't know. And if we're talking about visual clarity, like if you're playing Arc Hunter and you're punching things over and over and over, you don't know what's going on. Let's be honest.
Honestly, it just feels very odd of a choice. So I'm very much like, Bungie, what are we doing here? So now we're moving on to Warlocks. Somehow, True Vanguard is very happy because Bungie is buffing Mantle of Battle Harmony and making it so the energy goes ranging between 1.5% and 4.5%, depending on the type of target killed. So you get more super energy than before. And they're removing the 2-second cooldown for the perks activation. Bravo. Because no one really understood why Mantle of Battle Harmony was grouped into that Surge mod change thing, because truth be told, if anything, Mantle of Battle Harmony is the worst one to get that change, because similar to not Furnace, but the one's Titan chest piece, I can remember Hallowfire Heart. Yeah, but like similar to Hallowfire Heart, you only get its benefit when your super is charged. So it was very much a situation where you were only getting a ×4 bonus if your super was charged. And it was very odd. So I think this might give some people a reason to use it now, but whatever.
Yeah, Ager's Scepter Warlocks are back.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say that.
Holy shit.
Balladors, they're making it so activating your Rift grants nearby allies and EU Frost Armor stacks when you have the Frost Pulse equipped. So more reason to use Frost Pulse, which is kind of cool. And then they're making it so Winter's Wrath Shatter Attack grants nearby allies Frost Armor stacks. So that makes Balladors a little bit more valuable of a choice besides just the 2 grenade exotic that I just leave on my hunter. I mean, my Osmiomancy's warlock, not hunter. But like,
that's gonna be very interesting, and I think that's also gonna make make warlock another reason to go outside of freaking solar.
Yeah,
because that damage resist coming from the frost armor stacks. And the fact that you're going to be able to generate that fairly quickly, that's going to be freaking goated.
Yeah. So
it's max frost armor too. It's not just a couple stacks. You cast Rift, you get the full 30% DR.
Yep. Yes.
Especially if you got Rhyme. Now, this was I'll be honest, I was expecting it. Sorry, Warlocks. You got hit with another nerf. Sunbracers, solar grenade duration increase got
get it out of here. Get it
And
out of
then
here.
grenade recharge rate up to 4 grenades from 5. So basically, you're only getting 4 grenades. And if I remember correctly, it's only 2-second grenade duration. So I'll be honest, I'm not shocked because Sunbracers has been real big as far, especially for like some of the low man and speedrunners.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, I'll be honest. It's kind of like, Starfire Protocol. It got nerfed too when it was the biggest crutch.
Yeah, but this wasn't as bad. It didn't get nerfed into the fucking ground like Starfire.
Well,
This is like,
some bracers really took off like when Starfire Protocol got hit.
yeah.
So
Sunbracers, I think they're
Go ahead.
still going to be. I think Sunbracers are still going to be good. They're just not going to be as good. They were a little
Right.
too good. So now they're kind of just. It's kind of like with the Strand Titan changes. It's taking the outlier and bringing it back down to where it's a little bit more comfortable. I'm sure Warlock players are probably very upset because their favorite exotic just got nerfed, but it's still going to be good. You know, as long as you keep up your melee energy, like
It's
you're
definitely
still
a
going
lot
to
less
be able to
OP.
spam grenades, and now you can see more. So
Also, now I don't have to hear Warlocks constantly say that I killed their ad that they were trying to hit with their fucking melee. Cajun.
You do.
Hey man, I'm here killing bitches. I don't got time to let you just do your little finger snap. I'm trying to I don't need you trying to be an anime character while I'm killing bitches. I'm sorry. Like it's just this ain't the time for it. But anyway.
And then of course everybody's favorite, airfield helmet freaking it got nerfed. So basically there was a bug where multiple players using Cenotaph were able to activate it on the same target and get double bricks. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. Only one person per target. And then this was an interesting one right here. Now hides the visual marker for the wearer.
Yep.
Yeah, this was
Bungie,
a bad
what the
change.
fuck?
I don't. They're just removing visual information that's kind of important for the person using Cenotaph to know.
Yeah, that feels weird because especially with like I use one of the other secs on my my Aeon build for my Titan that like Quad King gave me a while back, where you're able to, what is it? Sector Force, where Sector Force, when you mark a target, it debuffs it. And that was a really cool thing that I found out. And that visual marker is still there. Like, you can see the visual marker. So, like, why are we hiding information that doesn't need to be hidden? It just feels weird.
Like, I guess technically the Cenotaph user can't generate the ammo from the enemy they marked. It's only allies. But still, it would be helpful to know if you marked the target.
Yeah, it feels very odd. I don't know why they thought that was a move.
Yeah, that's a big accessibility thing that I think was a miss on Bungie's part. And I hope they change that. I hope they revert that back because that's going to make it really hard. Because I mean, could you imagine in a raid or like, let's say contest, day 1 contest? All right, I'm marking this. Is it marked? Is it marked? Is it marked?
Yeah, that's a little weird. And then here's the change that has me very excited. And me and Quad King
I gotta hear Razeki's opinion on this one.
Me and Quad King have already been talking shit about this, but exotic artifice armor. Hell yeah, motherfucker. What they're doing is they're making it so with a cipher and 10,000 glimmer, you can add an artifice slot and give your exotic armor 3 extra stats or 3 extra stat points. And I've already started cooking in the kitchen, boys. The less stress I have on certain builds now, ooh, I'm excited, buddy. That's gonna be great. And I like how they've kind of said they've worked into every exotic. They didn't do something like with the enhanced change where they had to cherry pick and put a blockade on it, like only things from season 17 forward. They're like, nah, every exotic can get it. I'm like, oh, because as we know, everything prior to Beyond Light is able to get 69 or even 70 stat roll versus everything after like any newer exotics can't. So that means older pre-Beyond Light exotics are going to be able to get that bonus and have a lot of extra points. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful change.
That's
There's a lot of like it was a weird limitation that you could have 4 other armor pieces with an extra +3, and just because you have an exotic armor, you don't get that benefit as well. So this is just a nice quality of life, and then +3. It might not help, but sometimes it might be the little bit you need to get to the next tier. And the cost is reasonable. You're not just gonna be able to, I don't even know what to call this, double masterwork your your exotic armor, all of it, because you only get a handful of ciphers, right?
Right, and
So
that's what people were saying was Bungie needs to make it so there's more ways to get ciphers besides the battle pass
Yeah.
and Xur. Like they're definitely, especially with them saying, "Hey, there's a new way to focus exotics at Rahul. There's a way to add a fucking new slots to your armor now with this." Like we definitely need more ways to get ciphers. Because if they're gonna make this be so involved with ciphers, there needs to be more ways to get ciphers.
yeah, and then also this is a kind of an end game player's quality of life change, right? So
Yeah.
if you're not quite at that level yet, you're not gonna notice it. But if you're trying to really min max, this is just that extra little tweak that's gonna help you get there.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing for this article. Well, two more things.
Yeah.
I can finally stop hearing Cajun complain that he doesn't have any more heavy ammo because Bungie is making it so your in-game timer of when you get a heavy brick to spawn is not being reset for when you die anymore. Praise the Lord.
Okay.
Good quality of life change.
Yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. I'm gonna say this. Now, the fact that this was part of the system where basically, let's say you were close and you didn't know it. That's the one thing that kind of pissed me off about this. You didn't know if you were close to pooping out a freaking heavy brick. But if, God help you, freaking Mr. Big Ogre come freaking big dick freaking smack you around and you freaking croaked. Now your progress just got reset. You didn't know that. You just thought that RNGesus was freaking giving you the shaft and just dangling the carrot and kept moving it away. But now we actually have a little bit better of an understanding.
Yup.
Now, one other thing on top of that, while the progression will no longer reset on death, it will have an increased kill count for fire teams.
Yup.
So there's still a freaking threshold. So there's still there for players to be running heavy ammo finder as well as heavy scout finder.
Yep.
And just for those that don't know, when you're using the exotic primary, not exotic heavy, but exotic primary, that increases the chance and likelihood of getting an exotic brick. So just FYI, with this change, we could see a good, healthy, heavy ammo economy.
Most definitely. And then one last change in the article, Bungie is making it so raid mods no longer cost energy on your armor. Yay!
Okay,
Such a beautiful change.
I'm going to say this. If Bungie could just tweak the freaking raid armor stats on drop to actually be a little bit better, I don't know. I might just start saving up freaking raid armor to where I've got raid armor sets for freaking, But I'll say this. I wish that we could take raid armor and be able to feed it into any piece of armor to unlock that slot on that piece of armor.
Yeah.
I think that would actually be a freaking good way. We'd still be able to utilize the freaking raid armor in a way.
The great thing about it though is that this makes the stress of things like Goss Flawless or Deepstone Flawless a lot less hard, or even Vogue Flawless, where those raid mods are very beneficial. Or one thing that we found this week out was if you have a piece of Ron armor, the Ron armor mods really helped you against the fire tornadoes and killing ads in planets and Pantheon. So the idea that these different things are more accessible and it doesn't compromise your build is really cool. And I'm glad Bungie made that change.
Yeah, this is a really good change. And this might be a little bit of a future hopium take, but maybe in Destiny 3 we'll get some raid armor set bonuses that aren't just applicable in the raids.
Okay, I'm not the only one that wants raid set armor bonuses.
Because
That'd be kinda
I'm going to be
cool.
honest, I don't use any raid armor because I go into a dungeon and I go into master and I get the artifice armor, and then I never use raid armor ever again because I don't get the +3. So raid armor is completely useless to me.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
But now that we could use the mods, it's pretty nice. And then, maybe in the future, if we get a little bonus for using the set, that would be nice.
It would be, for real. Okay, so Twid time. Let's keep it tight. Let's keep it right. So they revealed the trailer. Well, not the trailer. The cutscene, which was cool. The 2 Vidocs. I'll touch on them briefly. 2 things that really stuck out to me. Keith David sounds great as Zavala. My heart did some pitter pattering. I'm excited. I was very much like scared, but it just sounds like Keith David, and I'm like, cool. I don't need you to do something crazy. You just gotta be good, and Keith David's always solid, and I'm here for it. I think he did great. And there were some people that were like, "Oh, just make Zavala mute." But I talked about that in a previous episode. They did that, and I think it was Season of the Seraph for one scene where like Mara and Anna Bray were beefing in his office, and he just kind of nods at Anna, and I think it's because like fucking Lance was shooting a movie or something and he couldn't be there, and it was like, that's weird. I don't like that. Like this is not the time for Zavala not to be here. Like obviously they couldn't help Lance's passing, so they had to do something, and rather than doing some crazy shit like AI
What, you didn't want an AI voice?
No, bump that. No. Like they did the right thing and hired somebody adequate, and I think I think everyone's pretty much in agreement. If you had to bring out anybody, you brought out the biggest gun you had, and that was the smartest move you did. So good job. I'm very excited about that. Good. The other thing, in the second Vidoc, one of the devs said their goal for the upcoming strike in the final shape was, as she even put, I'm a 7-time conqueror gilded. I wanted to make the hardest GM in history. And I'm like, huh?
She wants to see us squirm.
Like she said she wanted to make us cry. I was like, yo, what?
Bungie's taken quite a new direction ever since 0 Hour, where people are like, it's too hard. Why is normal mode so difficult? And they're like, just get good, bro.
Well, that was so wild because that was wild. I forget it was a tweet or it was Reddit. Someone was complaining about 0 Hour being too hard, and one of the devs said it's supposed to be hard. And that's what kills me is I like this Bungie. I like this Bungie that's actually like, hey, we want to challenge you. We don't want you just going in and getting shit for free. We want you to actually have to try. It's not get good. It's you have to try. You have to put that work in. You're not just going to skate through here with your random blue armor that you got and a random legendary you got from a strike and think you're going to put it in work. They are like, hey, you got to nut up and do something with this. And I love that. I love this Bungie. It's not trying to be elitist. It's saying, hey, I get that you got 5 jobs and 50 kids, but you got to play this thing more than like 20 minutes. You got to actually put in a little bit of work.
Yeah, you want the end game loot. You get end game.
Yep. So, fuck, I actually lost my damn train of thought. God, love ADHD. I'll be honest, hearing Keith David's voice was freaking fantastic. And let's also talk about the fact that freaking Dado simped over that freaking comment about the freaking strike being harder. I'm like, yo, Dado, chill, my boy.
I'm so excited, bro. I'm so excited. Like, because here's the thing. I love hard GMs. I loved Glassway before it got power crept. I loved Proving Grounds before it got power crept. I love Corrupted. I love Hypernet Current in its current state.
Oh yeah,
like I love these GMs that Bungie's like, you want to be
the Vile.
Like Birthplace of the Vile, great. I think the where Bungie has made missteps is things like overtuning Lake of Shadows. the battleground nightfalls where you literally have to cheese and go out of the map just to get things done, and there's no survivability in the encounters. I like
love
stuff
Forest
that
Lands. I love
challenges
Forest.
you.
Because so let's compare the freaking battlegrounds to freaking, let's say, Birthplace of the Vile, boss encounter room. Every so often you'll get a group of ads, but it's based upon the freaking health of the boss.
Yup.
Whereas battlegrounds constantly keep pooping out freaking ads left and
Yup.
freaking right.
Yup.
To me, that's not a natural freaking hardness. That's freaking artificial as fuck.
Mm-hmm. So I
And
like that we're actually having to I hope we're entering a thing now where it's like, hey, we're gonna make challenging content, but not make it that you have to cheese it to get it done. And like I love that. I love that they are hungry to make cool shit happen.
yeah.
I love it.
And then
So excited.
speaking of cool shit, let's talk about this new system, Pathfinder. Okay. So for those wondering of like why we can't do bounty prep with our Vanguard, Gambit, and Crucible freaking bounties anymore, well, that's because the new system coming in now.
Gotta
They
love ads.
showcased it. And basically, what think of it like a skill tree that goes eventually down to one singular point. Starts from a wide berth all the way down to a single. Now, according to Bungie, there's going to be two Pathfinder systems. One that's going to be the ritual playlist, which is Gambit, PvP, and Vanguard, and the other one's going to be for the Veil Heart. Now, it's going to be a little bit better, and from what I was seeing, for the objectives, definitely. It's not going to be as strict as, like, let's say, the gunsmith. Oh, go get, so many pistol kills, or go get so many freaking rocket launcher kills. No, it's going to be like, go do, this many blah, 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 or go kill this many enemies. Doesn't matter, whatever. You use whatever. Just get it done. And as you complete the Pathfinder, you're going to get, I think they said an exotic at the end. For the first time you reset it with Glimmer, and then you're going to get a whole new path. And basically, after the fourth time of resetting, you're going to start hitting diminishing returns.
Yeah, which that feels weird, but because that kind of decentralizes you from playing
I think
content.
they said when you do the weekly reset, it resets that diminishing return.
Yeah, so I think that's the one thing that I'm worried about is Bungie's trying to de-incentivize you for playing content too much, because especially for a Crucible player, I can tell you from experience, I've reset shacks like 30 times this season. So should I be hindered if there's just one weekend where I'm farming a new weapon in trials and I've reset shacks like 3 times already and I start seeing diminishing returns? No, you should be rewarded for doing that. You should be told, hey, you're this is exciting, you're playing the game, good for you, we're having good retention. You should be rewarded for playing the game. Why are we getting diminishing returns?
I feel like it's kind of the same system now where, you get to the end of you get to level 17 on the vendor, and then, the first time you get the ritual weapon or whatever. And then when you reset every time, it's just, exotic engram, exotic engram, exotic engram, exotic engram, shards, cores. Like the more you reset currently, the less you get anyway. So it's kind of the same system. And it's also rolling in the the pinnacle gear, right? The pinnacle and powerful gear.
Yeah.
So the first time or two that you go through Pathfinder, you're going to get that pinnacle gear, and it's a little less obfuscated because it was hard to understand how to actually get that pinnacle gear if you were just either new or weren't familiar with the systems, because you couldn't really see somewhere in the UI that told you exactly, these are all the steps to get pinnacle gear. Now it's rolled into the system where it's easier to understand. You could choose your own adventure, and then it still kind of works the same way, but it resets every week.
Right. And the cool thing, and what a lot of people were complaining about when they said that the ritual bounties were going to be going away, was that this was also going to be a loss of bright dust. Well, they're incorporating the bright dust into these resets and these completions, which, bravo Bungie, you addressed it. And first 3 completions is 150 bright dust. Okay,
Love
so
that.
you do 3 completions, that's freaking 450 right there. The next 7 is still 150. Okay, so now you're talking about 1,500 bright dust. That's a lot.
Yo.
So it's quite possible to be freaking rolling in bright dust using this new system. So for everybody bitching about, oh, you can't get shit with freaking, from the Eververse store, you're gonna be thick with freaking bright dust.
To be
Enjoy.
fair though, like nobody until like someone like Sticky or somebody told them, "Hey, you can get bounties from Bright Dust." Like kind of like what Razeki's saying. There's not really a clear way that Bungie tells you, "Hey, there's a way to get Bright Dust." It's almost kind of hidden. Like Bungie doesn't want you to know you can get Bright Dust. So it's kind of weird that like they like granted like it's good that they made a way for you to get it, mind you, but it's like you had to literally be told by a content creator, this is how you do this, not Bungie saying, hey, but Bright Dust over here. Like, it feels weird that it took us this long for Bungie to make a clear path to it, if you catch my drift. It just feels a little odd. So, yay, but I enjoy the Pathfinder system a little bit, but the only reason why I'm somewhat okay with it is like it's more like laid out for like a path for people to go on. Hey, Pathfinder, but like I think this kind of goes to what I talked about last week, where it feels like we're just constantly um degrading things that are part of the RPG experience of the game, and constantly just be like, hey, we're gonna get rid of things that aren't part of like what used to be this game. And granted, this is kind of a quality of life update in a way, but it's also just like even at the bottom of the fucking twin, they're like, hey, well, once again, just a reminder, we're getting rid of legendary shards. Why are we constantly deprecating things? Why are we constantly changing things that didn't need to be changed? Like the bounty system's fine. The bounty system worked hand to hand with the rank system. If anything, the rank system need to be like more tied to the bounty system. But it feels weird. It feels a little odd that we're constantly trying to deprecate things in this game. And then one thing that I really enjoy is they're updating the quest tab a little bit to coincide with the UI and UX changes, which I really enjoy. They're hopeful the one thing that I really enjoy overall though is players will be able to set any quest category on the left column as their default when they go into the quest tab. So that's kind of cool. If you like just want to focus a specific thing, you can make that be the default instead of having to scroll down to it, which that's kind of cool. And then they're adding more things like different game modes to private matches. Finally, thank God. Like they're adding things like the different party modes like zone control and relic and stuff like that. So props to Bungie for finally doing something like that, and they're adding more modifiers like a hard line and things like that. And they're like, I really appreciate them doing that. So that's pretty much all there really was in the twin. Um, I find myself really excited for what's coming in the final shape. Um, the one thing that I kind of want to end on is going back over to Pantheon. Godslayers, you put in work. I'm almost there myself. I'll have it by the time this episode goes live. I really enjoyed Pantheon, and I hope Bungie continues like we talked about and speculate. I hope that there ends up being more boss gauntlets in the future.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing that I still I want to circle back to that I will say in the past like 3-4 episodes that we've had is I'm noticing still in the community the carry culture is like constantly being advocated for. The carry culture is constantly being advocated for of we're gonna pull you by your ankles and drag you through this shit. That way you get the shiny thing. And I really feel like we need to step away from that. I feel like it's not to be gatekeepy. It's not to be like, hey, you don't want us to be here or play this game. It's a thing of some people just aren't ready for this content. And it really is bothering me that so many people have been in my comments, so many people have DM'd me and been like, hey, you're like speaking ill, people should be allowed to play what they want. And it's like, should they? Like Bungie has made it very clear that this boss gauntlet is gonna be big dick hard, and people are still like,
Yeah.
no, I want to go in there, and then they end up having a really negative experience. Like I've talked to some people that have went in and they had a horrible time. They had the different LFGs have come through my comments while I'm on stream saying, I keep getting left at planets, I keep getting left at orcs, and yada yada. It's mostly because people don't want to do mechanics. They want to just do ad clear and be dragged through kicking and screaming. Like it's like, why are we advocating for this kind of space? Why are we wanting it to be a thing?
Pantheon, I feel like, was made specifically for those endgame players who have mastered every raid in the game and are looking for a new challenge. And there's been, obviously there's a lot of players who want to join Pantheon. Maybe it's their first time, they're interested in trying raiding for the first time in Pantheon. And the problem with that is Pantheon's not made for the first time raider. You could get through the Atrax path, no problem.
Yeah.
But a lot of players are coming in with no knowledge of the raids. They don't know the original mechanics. They, haven't done day one -20 difficulty before. And they want to get the Godslayer title, but they're not ready yet. Not to say that they can't try, but, Pantheon was made for a very specific group of players. And, getting carried through Pantheon kind of cheapens the experience of going in and executing on your mastery of the game.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, as someone who got Godslayer today, because I worked during the week. Last night I went with some friends, got the encounter done. The only one that I was missing for plat was Atrax, which fuck you, Atrax. Kill you damn tormentors, people.
Absolutely.
But getting through that with a good group of friends was such a great freaking experience. And then today, trying to get back to Atrax to freaking get that done, there was definitely it was definitely a night and day situation, night and day difference. And I could easily say, having been through every single week, I agree with you. Week 1, absolutely goated. Go for it. If you're new to raiding and if you don't have any access to the paid DLC, it's worth a shot. Just be ready that you're going to have to learn on the fly. And on top of that, learn additional mechanics on the fly, because that's the one big thing that Pantheon did, was took a lot of these encounters and added new things to it. For a lot of people weren't ready for what was going to happen with Rolk. And even Rolk is proving to be a challenge for a lot of teams.
Unless you throw them off the map.
Right. Even Nezarec. Nezarec took a lot of people by surprise, because a lot of things that we took for granted in the main encounter, not there anymore. So it's definitely a lot of, game knowledge from the raid. It's player skill. Are you extremely comfortable with your class? And then 2, communication with your teammates. And I'm going to be honest, everybody has to pull their weight. If you're trying to carry somebody, that's going to put more stress on you and your teammates. And that's, to me, it's not cool.
And the other thing that really kind of like got me too is there's a lot of people that are trying to do speed runs of this and not caring about getting the platinum. They're just trying to complete it, or they don't care about the time and don't want to do it. But I want to go back to what Cajun was saying of a night and day difference. There is a big difference between being in one LFG and trying to teach people on the fly, and then having a team that is well-oiled, well-versed in the game, and fly through shit like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
Like, I had 2 different runs of planets today where one team had no idea what they were doing, and we were trying to teach somebody in one round where it was like bang bang boom, I do this, you do that, like good communication, big wire. and it is totally different. And I genuinely am of the belief that like it is not for the faint of heart to step into this ring. And it is very much a situation of you gotta be down with big dick energy and have at least been around the block once or twice.
Yeah,
Like
I've played.
yeah.
Yeah, I've played with multiple different teams across different weeks of Pantheon, and I could agree. Like, depending on, the people you're playing with, their consistency at the game, how well they know the mechanics, the arsenal they're bringing with them, it's all, it can make the difference between Golgoroth taking 10 minutes and Golgoroth taking an hour, and if you want to go all the way in Pantheon, every member of your fire team needs to be on point for the entirety of the challenge. It's not just, having half your team being able to hit DPS checks and staying alive. It's all 6 of you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I just wanted to speak on that. But Razeki, you are our guest. How like what do you want to leave the people with? What is your closing statement for this episode?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the final shape. I think all the changes that Bungie revealed this week are pretty good for the most part. There's some weird ones like the cenotaph marker, but for the most part, I think all the changes are good. I think a lot of what they're doing is getting a lot of the abilities set up in a way that's going to make Prismatic a success on launch, or at least keep things interesting. A lot of the quality of life changes that Bungie has been doing recently feels like, this is the culmination of everything in Destiny 2. And we're kind of getting maybe not to an endpoint of Destiny, but an endpoint of Destiny 2 where they're making everything, they're adding a bunch of things that players have really wanted for years into the game. They're making changes that improve the gameplay. And, coming from someone who works on a game that is slowly entering end of life in favor of the version 2 of the game, we did the same thing, right? So there's a lot of changes that we made for our game that bring it to its final form. And I think that's what Bungie is doing with Destiny 2 going forward. And I think Final Shape, because of that, is going to be really, really good, at least in terms of gameplay.
Most definitely, most definitely. Cajun, Spicy Brother, how you want to leave these people?
So we are now, at the time of recording this, 10 days away. By the time this gets released, we're going to be looking at what? 8 days from Final Shape. Take this week, finish up whatever you're trying to grind, give it your go, then take this opportunity, catch a break, touch some grass, and as I like to finish, eat some ass. Enjoy the time, because we all know that June 4th, we are going to be grinding. We're going to be diving into new content and wrapping up a saga that, whether you've just been here a year or you've been a D1 vet of over 10 years, the final fight is coming. Take some time, restore your mental health, have fun with friends, do something goofy, but take care of yourself, spend some time with loved ones, and get ready to have some fun. I know us at Clan Transmit, we're ready to help. We're ready to have some fun. And I know me and JP were looking forward to the day one raid. I know Razeki, we were talking about this just before the start of the recording. You and your team, y'all are looking to have some fun and give it a go.
All right. So I'll admit, lately my mental health has been on the rocks, but I feel like the thing that's been holding myself together has been this game. And I'll admit, from one person to the next, a lot of this community has been hard to stomach or even swallow the past few weeks. And I even saw someone I looked up to kind of just spit on me like I was a peasant this week, and that kind of sucked. But in reality, I'm so thankful that we've all come so far when it comes to this game. And we are finally getting to a point where we are seeing the apex of a journey come in. And I cannot wait to see how this goes down. it sucks that we've lost people, we've lost friends, we've lost voice actors, we've lost people along the way. But I think that this culmination is going to be one of the greatest things we've ever seen in gaming. And just listening, like, while I question some of their choices, hearing the devs talk on these Vidocs this week, seeing their excitement, seeing their like praise and their like pride in what they've done with this expansion has me so thrilled to see what they've cooked up. And I cannot wait to see what comes down. So do what you got to do to prepare, take care of yourselves, and let's kick some butt, y'all. Razeki, you've been an amazing guest. We can't wait to have you on again because it was so great to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for having me.
Most definitely, folks. We will catch you guys Starside. Peace out.
Later, y'all.
Later.